Hello, my name is Yudao. I am a monk here at SokukoJi. If you are inspired by these talks and these teachings, please consider joining us for our other forums, online or in person, and also consider helping us financially. We could use your support if you are able. Thank you.
Greetings to everyone. Today is, isn't this the first day of spring? Yes,
in a sense.
first day of spring. It is the winter solstice, which is, we're headed towards spring. Everything has to begin somewhere, unless it doesn't. So this particular talk is going to start with this. Pardon me. So I have some notes here this morning, since this particular topic is very interesting to me, and it shows up quite often in different ways. And it's not exactly the Buddha's Dharma, but it comes out of the Buddha's Dharma. I would not be able to even talk about this had I not studied, practiced, and meditated under actually two teachers over a long, long period of time. And so what I'm saying here is the way I'm addressing this is to say this is the title of this is The Greatest Misunderstanding. This applies to everyone, the whole world, everything I see, everything you see, whether it's on the news or in your neighborhood or in your family or in your culture, in your grade school, in your high school, in your college, in your workplace, everywhere. The greatest misunderstanding applies to everyone. All of the war and peace and distraction, war and peace and distraction, war, aggression, peace, passion, distraction, ignorance. Those are the three that run the world. And those who have understood how this works get a hold of one of those and use it to control you. Do they control you? I don't know. You might have a little bit of an idea whether you're being controlled or whether you're a liberated being. You don't even have to be a Buddhist. I'm not even saying you really have to even practice meditation. Maybe not. Maybe you can just see this, but you won't see it if you keep adding on to what shows up. If you observe what's out there and you immediately stop it with your opinions, your ideas, your judgments, your evaluations, including all of the ethical stuff you've been taught. And it's not that doesn't have a relative correctness to it. Of course, you don't want to hurt people. Be ethical. You want to be kind to people. Be ethical. Put others before yourself. Be compassionate to others. All the general things you hear in society all the time. It's just that the way of going about that shows up through what? Some people trying to control other people. Usually a very small percentage controlling what are they saying these days in the news, the 99%? We're probably the 99% in this, you're a multi-billionaire. So I don't want to go into a political thing here. There's no point. You can see that everywhere in the news, everywhere it's political. On the other hand, you can't, if you talk about experience at all, you cannot talk about anything other than the politics of experience. The very nature of language is political. Should be, shouldn't be, right, wrong, up, down, back, forth. Life and death is the big one. We think those are two different things. They are not. Don't believe me. You find out. Look at your own life and look at what shows up to you conceptually as death, and then find out what death actually is. You can do this. Nothing is stopping you except your own mind stream and your own convictions, your ideas, your opinions, your judgments, your beliefs. Don't believe anything. Don't disbelieve anything. Don't agree with anything. Don't disagree with anything. Just receive this whole incredible world. It is an astonishing world that most of the people is missing. They're missing it because they believe a bunch of things about it. You don't have to do that. You can liberate yourself. Ego is terrified of this. Ego doesn't want to see the truth that there is no reference point for anything. There is no right or wrong. Find out. You don't need to be a Buddhist monk. I had to do this because I'm a dumbass. Spent my whole life fighting with everything, fighting with my parents, fighting with society, fighting with the U.S. Marine Corps. That was very difficult because that's the Uniform Code of Military Justice is not forgiving at all. They are about controlling you. You belong to the government. They will tell you what to do. And one of the things they trained me to do is kill people. I'm very good at it. So far, I haven't killed anybody, but I know how to do that. Now we can begin the talk. Now that I've had my speaking. But I'm motivated. I don't know what I'm going to say when I come in here. I see this. I had Conjura help me get this together so I have it in front of me because I'm absent-minded. But this is something that I kind of gave this talk to myself, so to speak, and wrote it down. The greatest misunderstanding. This applies to human beings in general and some animals. It shows up in some animals. It shows up in gorillas. It shows up in chimpanzees. Shows up in monkeys. I spent quite a bit of time taking care of many, many monkeys. I worked for Bionetics Research Labs back in the 1960s. So I took care of African greens, macaques, cynos, baboons, very intelligent form of consciousness. Greatest misunderstanding, our daily lives, our very autobiography itself is what is happening is misunderstood. And what is misunderstanding? Saying one thing is true and not really looking at what that's covering up. The nature of consciousness is assumed to be the various dualities of subject, object, plus, minus, right and wrong. This is rampant in our culture, in rules, ethics, mores, and laws that we're asked to follow, brought about by other human beings, whether in 15 centuries ago, or 2,500 years ago, or last week, or when you were in the 8th grade. Other human beings trying to control us. Parents totally misunderstand what parenthood is about. They think it's about, assume it's about, feel it's about, are terrified into thinking it's about controlling the children. No, it's about protecting them. Protect your children so they can live their life, so they can be genuine. You can do that. Might take a little bit of guts. It might take some mind training where you sit down and first find out who this is before you assume who they are and try to control and judge and evaluate and shut down on things that need to be expressed and not shut down on other things that do not need to be expressed. This needs to come out of consciousness, not out of a bunch of rules. Where was I at here? Also in the relationships that families, societies, and culture itself has in its structure and beliefs is incorrect if you understand the ultimate nature of consciousness and not just believe feelings and thoughts without examining their basic nature, examining the feelings and thoughts, which has a relative structure to it. So the relative structure can be appreciated. In other words, received, not, well, this is the right thing to do and that's the wrong thing to do. That is the complete detritus or garbage pit of circularity that's called, very politely called in the Buddhist tradition, samsara, or the wheel of life and death, life and death, life and death. We're just on one side of that curvature that we call life. But this is not separate from the other dark side of the moon. If you don't realize it, you'll continue to do anything to stay alive, thinking that you are this living being, you are this body-mind complex, you are this oxygen breathing, thinking, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, thinking, remembering, analyzing. You're not that. You are consciousness only. Return to that without abandoning this. Possible. It seems that it would be necessary to see deeply deeply into the nature of consciousness, that which is smelling, tasting, touching, hearing, feeling, and so on, perceiving, outside of any particular religious orientation, including Buddhism. Buddhism is just a raft. It's just a way to get to the other shore. All the religious orientations talk about this in different ways. Christ talked about this. It's talked about in Islam. It's talked about this in the indigenous original people that run this huge chunk of land that we try to control, possess, and tell people they have to leave because they don't belong here. As long as this continues, this society will continue to try to fix things that are fundamentally not broken. There's nothing broken anywhere. This is about control. Find out what this is. Stop trying to fix yourself, control yourself, and stop trying to improve. This doesn't mean you don't see the difficulty or the challenge or the negativity. You need to look at the negativity. This is what sitting practice of meditation, as is taught in this particular place by this particular person, is just observe what happens so that you can see it deeply, so you can see the way you object to, agree with, and dismiss or distract yourself from. Again, regression, passion, ignorance, the three poisons, as is taught in Buddhism for thousands of years. We try to recover from some kind of state of mind that is called addiction, and instead of actually addressing the fundamental, the greatest misunderstanding, that everything is consciousness only. And it is not some idea of right and wrong, should be and shouldn't be. You have to see it, my friends. You have to see it. I'm here to encourage you to do this. This can be very, very painful and difficult, challenging. It can be one of the worst things that can ever happen to you, along with the other aspect that we call Advaita or non-duality. It's the very best thing that ever happened to you. Those are going to come up together, and they should. You can do that. You can bring that together. You can bring the negativity, stop fighting with everything. You can bring the positivity, stop agreeing with everything. You can bring those together right here in your heart, not your blood pumping organ. I'm talking about your consciousness right here. To bring that together by not fighting with it anymore, because fundamentally it's already not separate. Don't believe me. Consider it. Look at it. Dedicate your life to it. Don't necessarily have to become a Buddhist. Don't necessarily have to even meditate. That's up to you. If you want this truth, you may have to sit down and dedicate yourself to watching the mind stream come and go. We call it meditation. You call it shikantaza. You call it shamatha vipassana. You can call it creation completion practice. You can call it any number of things. You may need a whole lot of deities in your mind, and you may just need to watch the judgment, the opinions, gathering forces against, a truckload of feathers for. Don't do it. In other words, what I mean when I say don't do it, I said don't stop observing that. There's nothing to correct. It's all completely here. As I've said many times, it has a ticket to ride. Anything that shows up comes with its own credential, its own passport. Nothing, there are no gates to stop anything, unless the only gate there is the gate in your mind. And that may be anything from hope and fear right up to the fancy form of pride that is called, the fancy kind of passion that's called pride. The mind needs to be trained in some way to see what this actually is, very clearly, see what it actually is. Not join Buddhism necessarily. You may need that kind of a 2,500-year-old tradition to give you the forms and structures that you need in order to see what is true, or maybe not. Sit still. Just simple instructions. Sit still. You can do that in your kitchen. Even if somebody's sitting across the table, you can sit still. You can see it for yourself that this is an illusion. Not your idea of an illusion, that something's wispy and mysterious and can't quite see what it is. I'm talking about that illusion. This illusion, the intense emotion of disliking something, the intense emotion of grasping, wanting, desiring, going after something, loving something. And the other one, which is distraction, shutting down, forgetting about it, going some other way, and thinking about something else. It's much more agreeable. This may take a long time. Final words I have to say before I receive questions is do it anyway. If you're concerned about how you feel, you'll stop or you'll change. You think, well, maybe there's another way. Maybe there's a better way. There isn't anybody a better way. Not that I've got the truth. Not that anybody, there is no such thing as got the truth. There's just the truth. And it's right here. I'm not talking to just this. I'm talking to everybody. It's right here. You find it out. There is no authority. If there is one, I haven't been able to see it or find it. You find out. Get your own authority, as my teacher, Kobanchina Roshi, once said. Get your own authority. Good luck to you. Go ahead.
Chandra bowing, what is the greatest misunderstanding?
That this is real. That we have to stop it, start it, change it, manipulate it, do something with it. That this actual situation we find ourselves in has a right and a wrong, or should be and it should be. That there's a solid being here and other solid beings over there. Duality. I mean, I'm using a lot of words, but I could say belief, disbelief, or ignorance. Belief in a solid self. There's just consciousness. Thinking there's something besides just this, as it is. Go ahead.
Chandra bowing, what is, you're encouraging us to observe and receive and not fix. What is the difference between observe and fix?
So here's observing. Here's receiving. And here's fixing. Changing, manipulating, pushing, trying to find the off switch, try to find the volume to turn it up, get more of it. Trying to do something with what is in front of you. The interesting thing about this, and this needs to come out of a question, which I'm waiting for, you may also, as you observe and as you receive and try to align yourself with this particular kind of instruction, you might find that there's some areas that tend to open up in such a way where you find yourself coming out of awareness, not out of judgment, opinion, evaluation, conclusions, exclusions, or any kind of running around in circles trying to pick and choose something or find a switch or control. But you may find a door, you could use that, something open up that you need to go through it. But it comes out of awareness. The body-mind complex is just a part of the illusion. It's not any separate than this kotsu. This kotsu and the body are not two different things. They just look like it. One has a heartbeat. But what this is not separate. It is one incredibly huge matrix. Even the movie The Matrix addressed it in some way, but it did it as entertainment rather than teaching. So therefore, all you got was entertainment. You may find yourself going through that choiceless. If you go through this door, if you observe and you receive, you may not do anything because of dependent origination, because of the particular karma that shows up with your lifetime. Don't miss your life. If you don't miss your life, you might join the Peace Corps next week. Not because the Peace Corps is a great thing to do. It's probably a terrible thing to do because it's all about controlling people and looking good. More?
Chandra bowing, it seems like there's so much suffering, so much that is wrong, which is all judgment on my part to even say that, correct?
But yes, but it's a perception of it. Yes. You perceive the first noble truth of the Buddha is life is suffering. He was not kidding us. And as I've said a few times and has been said before we got here, he didn't say part-time. It's suffering. If you think otherwise, that means you're probably covering up some part of that suffering in this consciousness or in the world. If you see what this is, the three types of suffering, there's a pain of pain, which we know what that is. Everyone has it. The pain of alternation, which everyone experiences that. But very few people see the pain of the composite because they're so shut down and they're so clamped down on trying to keep from their own personal suffering instead of receiving the incredible suffering of the world. This is called compassion. It is not a feeling. It is the way wisdom moves. She who moves through space. Go ahead.
Chandra bowing. Receiving the suffering is different than fixing.
Yes.
What is so powerful about receiving the suffering?
Because that's all consciousness does in its actuality is just receive everything. Consciousness, even the sense fields are just receiving sounds. The teaching is right in your body. Just return to the body. Don't maintain it, return to it. Consciousness, thinking, emotion, feeling, memory, and the body-mind complex are not two separate things. They just look like it. There are no separate things. As I said, this white stick and this body or these bodies are not separate. They're separated, just like the glomeruli and the kidney are separate things, but there's a lot of them, and they're all doing something very similar. More? Yes.
Erlon bowing. If we're ignoring something in the mind, is there also something in the body we're ignoring? Bowing.
Yes, the same thing. The shutting down is not to be fixed. It's to be observed, because if you try to fix it, you actually, it works. You can function in the illusion as if this is what a war is. This is what going the other way and carrying peace marching. That's the other dynamic that perpetuates marching for peace. It needs to be done, but it will not prevent war. You have to have a deep understanding of war and peace. Passion, aggression, and ignorance. Otherwise, we just create more circles. That's what's happening all over. Even in some areas that are called the spiritual path. Our Dharma brothers and sisters, some of them have buy into that type of thing and have actually fought with each other based on right and wrong. There is no right and wrong. The Theravadins are not wrong. The Muslims are not wrong. The Christians are not wrong. No one's wrong. There's no wrong. There's just consciousness only. If you see what this is, you're liberated. And what happened? Nothing happened because there never was a person to be liberated. It has to be a complete, thorough understanding. You could say in the relative pictogram, a complete house cleaning, so there's not anything left. But nothing happened. There was no house cleaning because there's never anything there. The detritus itself, the garbage pit itself was an illusion, has to be seen. And if you see it, the illusion doesn't go away. It gets more intense. It wants an ego that fights. It wants an ego that's suffering. It wants to convince somebody that you need to do something. You can't just sit there and be miserable. Yeah, you can. It's an illusion, and it hurts like hell, or it's scary. You can do it. If you're in the middle of that right now, please don't give up. Find a time to sit down, hold still, and watch the suffering, or watch the pleasure. They're not separate. More?
Erlon bowing. You teach that it might get worse or that you won't care how you feel.
I do.
Is there also some aspect of being more aware of our suffering that does back it off a little bit, like when we're like our hands on the stove or something like that in here?
Yeah, relative situation is going to continue to tumble around and look like proof and look like evidence and lack of evidence. It's just more relative truth. It's not a matter of doing anything with that. Don't join it. Don't agree with it. Don't disagree with it. You're not going to agree with your hand on a burning stove. You don't disagree with that. But you also don't agree with it. What do? You take your hand off the stove. It's dependently arisen. That's what nerve endings are for. They're not to give you some kind of control over everybody. They're just to keep you away so you don't hurt yourself. very simple structure, very pragmatic. Yes.
Or long bowing. Do we confuse that sense input as a way to control things
Probably.
and that creates our suffering?
The ego mind wants control. It wants to stop this and start that. The self-centered mind, the narcissism, which to some people is very low, can't even hardly be seen. They seem so kind and loving and generous. Other people, it's obvious they're outrageously conceited. Trungpa Rinpoche referred to that as the Rudra of ego, the most intense form of self-centeredness that has no idea there are beings that are suffering. There are aspects of consciousness showing up as separate beings. They only see their self. It's like the reverse of Buddhahood. Because if you realize you're the Buddha, there isn't anything but the Buddha. This is a way of talking about Nirmanakaya, or the fundamental nature of relative foundational appearance as a living being in an apparent situation where you're separate from other living beings. If you realize who you are, you realize you're separated, but your true nature is not separate from anybody. You are the Buddha, not the historical guy. That person is, that body is dead. It's gone. But who that person was and who that person realized has never gone anywhere. They are not limited by time and space. They are here. Not they, the personality, but they, the consciousness, is right here, right now. More?
For long bowing, is the ego that which ignores the pain of the composite?
For protection. It wants to have a separate, it wants to have control. So the pain of the composite will never show up, because then it would just be devastating. It would be the death of ego, to use a relative, because it would realize you weren't a person, that you never were somebody. So it's like a death, as long as it hasn't showed up as a occurrence. Then there's still, what if I disappear? What if there's emptiness? What if there's oblivion? I'm so terrified of that. Or you may not be. Could show up lots of different ways with different people. Or not to me.
Not Suni bowing. What is it to be responsible for what shows up in the mind stream without going to right or wrong?
Yeah, good question. What is it to be responsible? So let's take the word responsible. Responsible is not about blame or cause or who caused this, who did that. Responsible, the way I interpret it, understand it, you won't find this in the dictionary, is the ability to respond. And how do you respond? You see it. How do you respond? You hear it. How do you respond? You taste it, you smell it, you feel it, you think it, you remember it, you respond. Things come into consciousness and you just respond. So to come back to your question, just receive. Don't do anything unless you have to. It's something I said. So if you just receive, if you're completely on receive, then you might see something that looks to the conventional mind or the fear-based mind might look, I got to stop that. I can't let that happen. What if this happens? What if you get into it? The imagination just expands into all the potentiality, the possibility of what could happen. Imagination is there to help you, not to put you in a situation where you're panicking and going into control function. So if the ego or the self-centeredness has not been seen through in some fundamental way, there's constantly that feeling of being wrong, that feeling of not being liked or being judged. So we have to move this way or that way in order to control this or control that. Quite often we're so afraid of what our children do, not because we're afraid of what they do, we're afraid of what people would think about who we are as parents because we're not doing such and such with their children. I see the smile there on your face. Yes, I know. I had several children. I just talked to my daughter yesterday. And so, go ahead, please.
Not Suni bowing. I recall you just said that the imagination is there to help us.
Yes.
What does that look like?
So I would have to I would have imagined something. So you imagine, you enjoy the imagination, but you don't believe it. You enjoy the imagination. We don't push it away. You enjoy it. You receive everything. So I have a great deal of fun with my imagination. I think of all kinds of crazy things. And I may open my mouth and say something about it, and I may not. I may draw pictures, I may string words together, sometimes call poetry. I don't call what I do with poetry. I just, because I'm not trying to make it look good or sound good. I'm just enjoy it. I enjoy the production. So to come back to your question, could you be more specific? And I'd be happy to respond to it.
Not see me bowing. I guess what is showing up is that, like, the ways that I use imagination to feed fear. So I think I was wondering what it would be like to not do that.
In a positive way. I think just being creative with it, dreaming up things, making up stuff, enjoying that part of your. One of the things that this flower arranging is something that's has a very strong structure, ikebana, strong structure to it, but it's about bringing certain kinds of elements together. Very, very imaginative. And if you, the more you do that, the more you see that they're really form is something that comes out of your imagination, not something that you adhere to. Same thing with to come into your situation. Same thing with working with your children, Hugo and Coco, working with them in such a way that's creative. So not about thinking something really creative for them to do, but working with them in a way where you're receiving whatever they're producing. You know how much I've enjoyed some of the things that your daughter has said. I haven't heard Hugo say much, but some of the things that she has said are just astonishing. She is so incredibly gifted and creative, and such just a child. She's only what, 3, 4 now?
3.
She's still 3. She's been 3 for more than a year. So, but I mean, she's so just a kind of, and all children are like that, but some have a different dynamic and hers is very, very, it's not even a compliment, it's just an observation, which you've seen it too. So it's sometimes she's frustrating for you, isn't that true? Oh, so look at the frustration rather than doing anything about it. So rather receive the frustration and allow yourself, be genuine, don't change, don't be somebody else, don't be a good parent, please. And also don't be a bad parent either. But I mean, don't use the structure of parenting as it's taught in society. Make it a relationship between this very new human being and this human being who's been around for a long time. Fundamentally protect her and introduce her to the world around her. You're already doing that. You can do that. And it may be, depends on the child, depends on the relationship you have with some of my children. I've had several of them. Most of it has been minding my own business. I'm very, very opinionated about everything. You don't have to change how you feel. I'm very judgmental about all of my children. They don't even know it. They have no idea what I think about their life or what they do or decisions they've made. I just listen to them. That doesn't mean I don't think to myself, might not want to do that. That might not be a good idea. I don't say that. Not because I'm so wonderful, not because I'm a great parent, because I've been training my mind for half a century when they were all children. And I just mind my own business. They don't even know it. They don't know they may never realize that is not showing up. It might be showing up as ignorance to them because, oh, dad doesn't care about us, because I'm sure it does. Probably it's like, I have not taken my eyes off from any of them at all. I just mind my own business because I see they have their own life to live and they need to run into their own difficulty, their own obstacles and so on. 2 of them happen to practice Buddhism, or at least that's what they think it is. And maybe it is their version of it. More in that area seems to be that's an area you have some interest in. Children.
Natsumi bowing is the process of receiving my own life. Like sometimes it feels like it sort of lightens the grip on things that I've held on to from the past. Is that what creates the space for the imagination and creativity?
I would say it this way, it stops covering up the space. Space is already nobody created any space. You can't create space, but you can cover it up with ideas, judgments, opinions, all the other, including ethics. Ethics has a dynamic to it that is very appropriate to talk about certain situations that we should look at. But when we use a law or a rule, you might as well be in the Marine Corps, where this is a rule, you do it, you don't question anything, you just obey, you obey. So I say, don't obey anybody. Observe everything, that's another O word, and receive everything. But don't obey anything. Don't follow any rules, any laws. Don't ignore them. I mean, you want to, if you find a traffic light, there might be a time when you go through a red light because of the situation, you have to go through it. That's a real obvious example where you have to go through that because of this or that. But most of the time it's red light, you stop. Yeah, I can go ahead. I'll stop. Anything else or more about that?
Thank you.
Condom
Yes.
avowing, how does our imagination help us see the greatest misunderstanding?
Because if the imagination is liberated from trying to fix things or trying to imagine out of this or imagine this, and with a lot of mundane or materialistic trying to get things or control things or imagine things, or then it's liberated. So then we begin to see that everything is imagination. This is a traditional teaching. The three natures. Do you know what they are? Anyone know what they are?
Well, I'm bowing. Parikalpada, Parinishpana, and Paratantra.
So which one comes first?
The chicken.
The egg. Well, it's good to talk about Paratantra because it's just dependent origination. This comes up, that goes, this. When this happens, that happens. When this happens, that. But it's much more extensive than that. And then we take whatever is happening, this moves from here to there, and we think, well, he's moving that because he's whatever. We leave what happened for why it happened or who did it. We leave what happened for causation. So we buy into the causation. That's the imaginary nature. So imaginary nature pretty much controls us in such a way that it covers up what is actually there. Eventually, we begin to see that this is just paratantra or dependently risen. It begins to be depersonalized there. And then eventually, when we see fundamentally what it is, it's so totally depersonalized that there isn't anyone seeing it. There isn't anything that is being seen. This is called the perfected nature, or what was it?
Parinishpana.
Parinishpana. What does parinishpana mean?
Completed?
Nothing happened. It means completed, yes, perfected. Elena,
Elena bowing. I can receive negativity and then for a while, and then I do things you advise me not to do. And then
all the things I advise you to do.
and then I can receive more negativity.
Yes, okay.
Is it enough to just return?
Yes, the word enough is a very interesting word. It's always enough. We're not measuring anything. There's no quantity. 5 people all meditating, 100 people all meditating. I sometimes say to people individually, I say, meditate for 30 seconds. It's the intention that's important, not the length of time you meditate. That being said, once you understand the nature of meditation, without even trying, you'll find yourself meditating for many hours. You'll find yourself setting up a situation where you're going to retreat for 30 days, which many people here have done, which I have done. Set for long, long hours and hours and hours. At first, there needs to be a strong intention to even see the nature of the mind, to see the truth yourself. You need to want to. I say you need to. It's like that. You want to know the truth, and once you have heard this word of the Buddha, you need to see this yourself. Work out your salvation with diligence is a translation of what he said just before he passed back into consciousness only. So just do it. We worked with that a little bit. You come and you go and you come and you go, and you need to stay away, stay away. You need to come back, come back. Just don't leave fundamentally. Like some people leave and they find a big steel door called opinion, judgment, evaluation, and blame. They slam it. Now they don't have to look at that anymore. Yep. The difficulty with that is they still have their karma, they still have their life. They've not, all they've done is cover it up. It's just in a very elaborate form of judgment and opinion. You don't have to do that. And if I hope anything at all, I hope you don't. I hope you see your true nature. Do this no matter what. Nothing is threatened. If you feel like something is threatened, you're wrong. Want to be wrong, you're wrong. When I say you're wrong, of course, there's no one there to be wrong. So, but it's an incorrect lamination over the top of what you're perceiving. What you're perceiving can be scary if there's still an ego. It can be threatening, but I would say just step right into it. As my teacher, Chogyam Trungpa, once said, march directly into disappointment. It was just his way of saying, receive the negativity. Don't really have to do anything other than just don't run away. Go right into it. You can do it. You're welcome.
Earl, I'm bowing. When that steel door closes,
Yes.
does it actually keep anything out? Bowing.
Well, it can appear to keep things out for a while, but it needs to be reinforced so that one needs to keep telling oneself the stories about, well, that was bad and that was wrong, and I need to get away from there. Even whether it was, no matter what it was. And there could be some relative truth to it. Might be a lot of relative truth to it. You may have been abused by someone and had to leave them. So I'm not trying to get rid of the whole right and wrong scenario that we're locked into in our society. It's powerful. There are people being abused all the time, everywhere. People all over our country, all over other countries in the world. And just, it's a terrible situation, but you can't go right in the middle of warfare and hold up a peace flag. I mean, you can, but then it's all about you wanting to be some kind of savior. I wanted to be, at least I did something. No, find out, if you want to do something, find out who you are. This doesn't mean you won't, as I said earlier, you might go into the Peace Corps next week. That might be part of the karma that needs to function, but train your mind so you see clearly, so that any movement you make is coming out of awareness rather than out of some kind of hope and fear basis more.
Earl, I'm bowing. Is the door that we need to reinforce to block out the difficulty actually made up of the difficulty?
If I understand what you're saying, I would say yes, it's made up of the original obstruction or the pushing. It's made up of passion, aggression, ignorance. Probably all three of the poisons are getting together and teaming up, so to speak. Usually there's some kind of a strong ego collective that's going on that you're telling yourself, I have to protect myself. This is very dangerous what I was in. I have to seal this off somehow. And so we tend to believe in the stories, and we probably are going to have to share that stories with others. As soon as you start gossiping with others about what has been happening to you, you may write a book about it. And it's not that there isn't a lot of relative truth there. We have things all over our society that are relatively horrible situations. But the fundamental understanding, if it's a spiritual path, is you need to see what this is and not fix it, not repair it, not cover it up, not do away with it. Don't do anything with it. Just receive it so you can realize what this is. More?
Earl, I'm bowing. It looks like we might even use the teacher to express some of that gossipy energy.
Yes.
But how come when we do that with the teacher, it doesn't spin out like when we gossip with, or maybe it does, but how is that different than gossiping?
How does it look to you?
It not super clear, but the fact that you're just receiving it and you're not particularly doing anything or spreading it around
Yes.
yourself.
I would say, to say it very bluntly, I don't care what happens. If I care what happens, then I'm going to join the right and wrong people. I'm going to join the Zen monks that think that there's some really bad priests, there's some bad this or good that. This is the best way to do it. I don't join anything. One of the reasons that the Order of Immediate Light was created, though a lot of people misunderstand it, was in order to protect this way of seeing it, not because I've got some kind of special dispensation or some special understanding. It's just this. I see it And I don't particularly, I see with the lineage of the Kagyu, the lineage of the Nyingma, the Shambhala lineage. I've been exposed, I practice and all of that. I practice in Zen, Soto Zen. I see what the Soto Zen lineage is doing. They should be doing that. They're not wrong. It's just that I don't want whatever teaching life I have left. I don't want to be interfered with by Soto Shu in Japan, or even the lineage that recently tried to so-called Kobin's lineage, which is not his lineage. He didn't start a lineage. He tried not to start a lineage. So near as I can understand it, I don't know what he actually did. I wasn't there. More? Is that where you're at with it?
Earl, I'm bowing to the one who, like the student who's producing that gossip.
Yes.
It seems like it's beneficial to have that be received from a teacher.
Yes.
What is that doing for the student to produce it in your direction, maybe instead of like to their
You see, nothing happens. Unless you can't stand nothing happening, then nothing is happening, then you'll create your own happening. And then you won't share it with a teacher, because if you do, then you see what I'm saying? Then the teacher will show you that they don't care what you do or what you think. They don't care how you feel. Because if they do, then they have to care how they feel. And if they care how they feel, then they're trapped by the illusion. If you're alive, you're going to have negative, positive, neutral feelings. I sometimes say, I don't care how I feel. That doesn't mean I'm not incredibly suffering. The last few months have been really painful for me physically, because my health is coming apart. Not doing too bad today, but usually when I teach the Dharma, I get a lot of energy, mainly from those who are receiving. That's why I sometimes said to the teacher, please remain. Go ahead.
Earl, I'm bowing, looking at the teacher as like a practice. If we're practicing receiving on the cushion with meditation, should we be practicing some production with the teacher so that that crap can go your direction?
I wouldn't try to do it. No, wouldn't do anything with it. If it shows up, then, give it to the teacher. If things are showing up, I've had students come and just hide out. They don't want to talk to me because it's too embarrassing to say what's been happening in their mind, because they think they've been meditating. They should be feeling better, and they're not. They're feeling worse. But rather than coming to the teacher and say, I feel terrible. I feel like murdering people. I feel like this. I feel like that. I feel like that. Because all I'm going to say is, good. I know how you feel. Go ahead.
Earl, I'm bowing. And then the other way that people, I don't include you is this, like we say, oh, I don't want to burden you, or I don't want to just dump.
Yeah.
Is that sort of the same thing?
That's just ego. The teacher can just say, shut up, get out of here. I don't want to listen to you. And they may. I've chased people out of the hojo. I say, get the hell out of my hojo, when they come in and try to pretend they're not having a problem by blaming someone else. So I would say, if you don't want the truth, if you want to just continue to go in circles, my understanding of it, maybe not yours, then do whatever you want to do. If you want it, then that's what I'm here to help you with, not to do it for you. I want to encourage you to see it yourself, but you have to talk to me about it. More than likely. More?
No, thank you.
Is there anyone online before we head out in another direction? I'll start out with Deb, and then I'll go to Ajishin. Deb, go ahead.
Deb bowing. A couple of my questions have kind of run out of gas listening as time's gone on, but I'll go back to the imagination when you were speaking about that.
Yes.
Sometimes I see my imagination showing up as kind of a turning away, entertainment
Yes.
away from what is difficult for me.
Yeah, turning away.
How is that helpful, or how is that different from the way you were speaking about enjoy the production?
Turning away is the same thing. Turning away, just turn away. It's aware of you're turning away. That's so powerful. Being aware, most of the people turn away. Most people in the world are turning away all the time and avoiding and turning away and grasping and rejecting, and shutting down. But you're actually telling me that through your sitting practice meditation, you're aware that you're turning away from something. I'm not saying, yeah, go ahead and turn away, but in a sense I am. I'm saying the awareness of turning away is much more important then what happens? The awareness is what is important, not what shows up in it. Though what shows up in it to ego seems important. Stop that. Oh, I can't feel this way. And not only awareness of what's happening in your mind is what's happening out in front of you. You see somebody doing something wrong, something bad. We want to judge them. And we kind of elevate ourselves because they're doing this terrible thing, but we're really kind and loving and they're being abusive or destructive. Not that they're not. They could be. They might be trapped in a kind of karma where they cannot help but live their karma in a very, very negative way. You don't know. I don't know. We don't know what it's like to be someone born in the ghetto to two drug addicts. We don't know why that happened. There is no why. You cannot find a why, and why that person has to join a gang and has to end up murdering someone when they're 14 and ends up in prison. I met that person in the Michigan Department of Corrections. Heartbreaking to see someone have been in prison for 20 some years because they did not get support and help. They just got punishment from the society that I talked about a little while back that wants to control everything. If I were to say it politically, I'd say a whole bunch of white people that want to control everybody else, mainly men. That doesn't mean they're bad. It could flip around and we could have, purple people starting to control everybody. Wasn't there something talked about in the 1950s? A purple people eater? Yeah, purple people eater. There was a song about it. I'm glad that didn't come to fruition. That sounded terrible in 1956. Okay. Jisheen, did you have another one, Deb?
I did, please.
Right.
Thank you. The other thing is, when you were speaking about it's the awareness, not doing anything, the protest, for peace, landing with, I want to see this happen so that my child
Yes,
finds a better life. I've heard you often say, I don't care what happens. And
yes.
there's something about that that resonates, yet I cannot see myself being in that space of I don't care what happens.
There's no space. Let me interrupt you. I'm not in a space of I don't care what happens. I'm saying it relatively so you can get a little bit of a taste of what it might be like to not have a reference point. That doesn't mean that I've gone out here with other people here and to the No Kings rally only twice. I haven't been out there as many times as some people have. My first wife, who lives in Columbia, Kentucky, goes out, I think, every once a week. No Kings. She takes a couple of our kids out with her. We're now grown men. So she's doing that. I'm all for that. I'm all, do this, live your life, be genuine. As I said, join the Peace Corps, do whatever, but make sure there's a lot of awareness practice with it. So that anything you do that's relative, so like we went out and held up some signs. So I'm interested in promoting that. I'm just saying that it needs to be a lot of mind training with that. Otherwise, we get to feel like suddenly we become the right people and the wrong people. The people who are carrying the other signs that go the other direction they're just as convinced that what they're doing is correct or right, and they happen to be promoted by a lot of confusion. There's a lot of confusion all over the place. But yes, go ahead and take a position. It's the picking and choosing that we demand that creates the issue, not just I want green jello, I don't want red jello. By the way, red is better than green.
One more, Deb Bowing. You said just get a taste of it. Is that what I'm doing when I'm somehow hearing you say, I don't care what happens, and there's something in that for me? Am I just getting a taste of that?
Well,
Yeah.
yes, I think so. I would say so. Yes, it takes a long time. It's very slow. I do everything very slowly. I never get anywhere. You don't really care if you get anywhere. If you see what it is, there isn't any where. Location comes apart in space and in time. Go ahead, Eugene.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Deb.
Are we praying for the protection for SokukoJi out of imaginary nature?
Yes. Yes.
So is any action taken to protect Sokukoji an action of ego?
No,
Which one action is not an action of ego?
intention. You can't protect anything. There isn't anything. There isn't anything separate. This is an illusion. But in order to participate in the illusion, there needs to be an intention to see the truth. And you're going to have to go right through those intense iron doors of the illusion to see it. And it's painful. It's difficult. Do it anyway. You can do it. And we need to do that. We need to chant mantras. We chant mantras in here. We chanted the 30 verses of Vasubandhu. And we're still doing that 3 times a week. And chanted in Sanskrit and in English. Join us. Come and see what that's like. We chant, what are the other 3 chants we do?
The Daishin,
Daishin.
the Jizodorani.
Jizodorani. And we would chant more. And I encourage you to use some kind of a mantra to use that if necessary. Maybe you don't. Maybe you can just sit still. As I said earlier, maybe you don't need to meditate. Maybe you can just figure this out. I would say good luck. Good luck, because you're going to need a lot of luck to figure this out. You might write books. There are books everywhere. Go on Amazon and look in how to figure things out. All kinds of people will be happy to tell you how things work, and they're so convinced, and they're convincing, especially if they have, 174 IQ, then their ability to use language is really powerful. You read that and you think, whoa, you just get really impressed, and you feel really ridiculous and sad and like sorry, feeling bad that you're not as smart as they are. Well, you don't need intelligence. You need some, but you don't. If you're a human being, you have it. Your birthright is to awaken as the Buddha. This is why there's so many awakened beings, especially in the Chan, Zen, and Tibetan tradition, not to mention the Buddha, who is of the warrior class, but who had all kinds of things happening in their life, and they realized what this was. Read the Bankei, what was 17th century, I guess it was. He just said, just remain in your Buddha. He didn't have a lot of fancy philosophy, but he had thousands of people wanting to hear him because he was teaching out of his consciousness, not out of belief or disbelief or anything. He taught out of it. And so basically, he was basically saying, just remain in your Buddha nature. You don't have to do anything. Just don't go anywhere. Amazing teacher. Banka Yotaku, I think it's pronounced. Bankei. Is it Bankei? Is that it? Do you know?
I never know.
You don't know. Everybody that looks to someone who's born in Japan. Born in Japan, were you?
Mhm.
Yeah, so, but. Is there a final question anywhere? Please don't hesitate. Jishin,
I don't have more questions, thank you, but I think that there's a James question online. Maybe James, if he's capable, can read that question. It's complicated, bowing.
go ahead, James. James, I wouldn't expect anything out of you, but a very complicated question. I'm going to give you an extremely simple answer to help you work with the nature of your psychology, which is very complicated and needs to have some kind of a, it's like you have a roast beef and you just put salt on it. Go ahead, you got to turn on your volume.
Terry Bowing. He's saying his mic is broke, Sokuzan. I can read it.
Thank you, Terry.
Terry Bowing. A question for Sokuzan. I am studying RBT, Registered Behavior Technician. In it, behaviors are reinforced by providing rewards to children and punishments for maladaptive behaviors. Maladaptive behavior is disunified and disruptive. How can uncovered, non-grasping, unified behavior be taught without creating a cover-up from the rewards given? Bowing.
Oh, I think we should reward. I think rewarding is fine. We need to work with it where it's at, how it is, as it is. Yeah, the difficulty is feeling like, oh, we have the right way. So we may need to some rewards. May need to do some of that. If I'm following you, yeah, you can reward people just like you would. Um, the whole society is structured in rewards and punishments. So I'm not against that. Did I miss what you were asking about? Is he typing something in? He is. He just wants to train children. Is that what he said, Terry?
Terry Bowing, he said, oh, okay, I just don't want to train children like dogs. Bowing.
Yeah. Well, um, then don't do that. You can see how dogs are trained, but don't do that. But there can be some kind of reward, but be very, very respectful. Dogs bark and whine and everything. Dogs are a different dynamic. Dogs love you no matter what. They're not operating out of relative truth. They just love you. I know I've met a lot of dogs. I have owned a lot of dogs, insofar as you can own a dog. But just meet them where they're at. Yes, the dog does have the Buddha nature, and they know it, and you don't. You don't know you have Buddha nature. The dog knows that. They're not trying to accomplish anything except figure out how to give you how you will give them more treats. Everything has a Buddha nature. An oak tree has a Buddha nature. Nothing is separate from anything else. It's just a way of teaching it. And the most important thing, as I was saying, I think earlier, is be very respectful to what a child. Each child is so unique and different, even if they're all in the same family. I have 5 of them, and they're all so unique and different from each other. But you have to be very respectful to them. If you're very respectful to your children, they might not even know it. They might look at it as you don't care about them, and you're not treating them like they think that you should. Because why? Because they're locked into their own karma. They may not have any mind training when they're 10 years old. Probably not. So they're going to be judging you. Let them judge you. You can handle it. Receive, receive, receive. Receive the judgment of your children. Not easy. I'm not saying it's comfortable. It's difficult. But be respectful to them. And be respectful to the children that you train. Each child, well, they say it this way, and I've not been trained. I don't need to be trained because I'm looking at it. If you're looking at something, you look at it, you realize this is consciousness. There are no things anywhere. And if this shows up for you, it becomes ordinary, and you don't feel particularly special at all. You just know that there isn't anything else but this. There are no mistakes. There are no successes. There's no life. There's no death. There's just this. You have something you want to say?
Would you like to share how we're looking at this on Fridays now?
Okay, so Fridays, we're studying this book that was a compilation of talks and teachings I gave not on Buddhism, but on using awareness practice to deal with addiction awareness meditation. It's this book. I highly recommend it. Of course, why wouldn't I? And there's 9 years of teaching in recovery, not Buddhism, but how to use awareness practice to work with addiction, not to recover from it, but to see what addiction is, to see what it is, not to cover it up with your success story of staying away from it. A little bit different than some approaches you might read about or hear about. We are studying this on Fridays as a book study. Anyone here is welcome to come and join that study. In a book study, all we do is read it together for 45 minutes, and then I come in at the last 20 minutes or so and answer questions about it, possibly. And will you be leading?
Yes.
And Erlam will be leading that. Go ahead. You want to say it?
Just also that Mondays, not that we're inviting people particularly into that, but I also facilitate another study outside of the monastery proper where we're going into that book as well.
Okay, good. Well, they can find out about that on the website.
Or they can reach out to me.
Reach out to Erlam.
Time on Friday.
What time on Friday?
At noon.
At noon. So if you're available on noon, you can come and check it out. You're not required to do anything other than just show up. And you don't have to ask questions or anything, but you can listen to the discussion. The discussion first turns out with people in the community or in Sangha community talking back and forth. And then I come in and respond to any questions if there are some. We do this several times a week with different books, yes.
How do you define addiction? What are you talking about when you use that word?
Yes, being attached to something either psychologically or chemically. There's all kinds of ways of uh, grasping at something, and then we turn to push it away. We have had enough of that. We don't want that, and then it grasps us. That's why there's a rattlesnake on here. Addiction awareness. Be aware of the rattlesnake, otherwise it's going to look like a jelly roll, and you'll want to keep eating it. So this is what's addressed: is the passion, aggression, and ignorance that is involved in addiction that is quite often ignored, not always, but quite often ignored with many approaches to addiction that have to do with controlling or stopping something, which of course the underlayment of that is belief there's a separate person who can win or lose. There are no separate people. This is addressed in a way that's not particularly conceptual or using Buddhist concepts. I think we can,
Terry Bowling.
yes, Terry.
James had one other question for you. He said, what's your favorite candy or sugar-free candy or dessert maybe? Bowling.
My favorite sugar-free one is, what's the name of that?
Yeah, you do Russell Stover's, but you also do
Russell's-
Choc Zero.
Russell Stover's is pretty good, and it won't raise your glucose, and it won't, there's no carbs in it, so that's pretty good. Tastes pretty good. I don't know what they sweeten it with. I think probably rat's blood or something. Sorry. Bad humor, sorry.
Maybe erythritol.
Erythritol, I know, doesn't that have some negative things to it? Erythritol? I think
Terry
you-
Bowling, it digests differently in your body than the other sugar alcohols.
Does it?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's very good for sugar.
Yeah.
It's
James, just let us know.
yes, erythritol does kill dogs.
It kills dogs?
Not good for dogs.
Well, then just don't train them. Don't train dogs that way.
What was your other one, Sokuzan?
Well, suddenly it makes sense to me why James doesn't want to train children like he trained dogs. I don't know. Did I have another one?
Chalk Zero.
Chalk
It
Zero?
actually has carbs in it, we found out.
Chalk Zero has carbs.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
So yeah, it's difficult if you're diabetic to find out something that's and then sometimes you just get a lot of insulin together and just eat chocolate cream pie with full of sugar and
Or
everything.
cheesecake.
Or cheesecake. So
Alina's Jukai.
yes. Oh, and this afternoon at what was it?
3.
3 o'clock. Elena is a monastery resident here. A student of mine, has been a student off and on for quite a few years, and is going to receive the lay precepts Jukai. So she's thought about it a long time, and has sewn a Raksu, and so we'll be changing her name from Elena to something really, really fancy. Maybe. I think everybody's welcome to come. You're fine with that. So if you want to come and join, you can join on Zoom at 3 o'clock. Nothing's required other than you come and watch the ceremony. We don't have too many of those, so they only show up every now and then. So if you'd like to join, you're certainly welcome. And if not, I'll see you when I see you. Anything else we should cover? Very good. Thank you so much for attending, and thank you for all of your questions.